you know, when you come in as a Gen Zer at 23, and like you said, people were kind of doubting you, maybe based off your age, or they made it harder for you to run. I think a lot of times there's like a fear of how do I even engage in these conversations with people who are more experienced, people I may actually even view as wiser, people who are maybe more connected in the community. What advice do you have for people who are looking to run for office as a young Gen Zer who are going to go serve alongside those who are older and more experienced? What advice do you have for them and how to engage in conversations around disagreement or decision making, or legitimizing that they deserve to be there, even though they might be in their teens or in their young 20s?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging for sure, and there are no easy answers. But a couple of things I will say. I think number one, you have to go in with a certain level of humility. Um, and so you do have to listen to people. Like at the end of the day, like we do need to kind of accept that, like, even if we don't like the way things are being done right now, even if we disagree pretty strongly with people, there's always a lot that we can learn from the many years of experience that some of our older colleagues or our more experienced colleagues have, in any setting, but including in local government. And so that's something that I've tried to stay humble and ask questions and learn from their historical knowledge and things like that, and their experience. It doesn't mean that you need to agree with everything they say or follow every piece of advice you get, but just asking, I think, and being genuinely curious is important. At the same time, I also think it's important that you have respect for yourself and confidence in your own beliefs, right? So, like, you shouldn't be afraid to change your mind, but you shouldn't be changing your values to conform to those of, like, the establishment, for lack of better terms. Like when I got on the city commission, there were some, I think, just like values that I had that were different from the values that some of my colleagues had. And so we were not necessarily going to agree on some issues. And that's fine. Or we were going to approach things in a different way. I mean, for example, every couple of weeks, I do like a Facebook Live office hours kind of session where I invite people from the community to tune in and ask questions in the comments, and I respond live. And every week before the meetings, I post the agendas for our meetings, maybe with a little bit of information about what we're discussing. And then after all the meetings, I write explanations of all the, like, substantive votes that I took and post those on social media and on my website. And I mean, one of my colleagues at one point was, kind of like sort of talking to me after a meeting, was like, hey, like what are you trying to do? Why are you doing this? Like, and I was just like, well, I'm just trying to be transparent, I'm just trying to make sure people know what's going on in the community and, like, why I voted the way I did, and I'm being responsive to people. But that person felt threatened a little bit, I think, by the way I was approaching things. And so you kind of have, but I knew that one of my values was transparency and accountability and honesty, and so I was going to keep doing that. And I think that as far as having respect for yourself, I guess would be the last thing I would say. Like, this can take different forms, but, like, don't let people just, like, be super rude to you. You don't need to put up with that. You don't need to let people be disrespectful to you just because they're older than you. Um, and like I always, when I go to our city commission meetings, I probably, like, go a little bit too far on this, but I always wear, like, a shirt, tie, jacket, even though basically nobody else in the commission does that. They dressed up, pretty nice for the meetings, but nobody else is to that extent. But it's kind of like to make a point, like, I'm here, I respect myself, I respect the people who elected me and who I'm serving, and, like, I respect this office and what we're doing here. And I think that sort of thing can go a long way as well towards earning respect from your colleague, your older colleagues. And ultimately, the last thing I'll say on that is just that sometimes there's just going to be people that you're not going to be able to work well with very well. Like, you need to find the common ground, but sometimes you need to recognize, like, when, like, frankly, like, you maybe just need to, like, bring some more friends along with you in your journey in public service. And so, like, for example, the year after I was elected, I kind of helped out a couple of other younger, like more progressive candidates that were running in Marquette for the city commission, and they both got elected, and now we're all on the city commission together, and we're able to do a lot of stuff, and talk about a lot of issues that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do. We otherwise wouldn't be able to talk about, if I just kind of sat back and only worried about myself, right? Instead of thinking about what do we need, what needs to be true for us to really make change here in Marquette.
I really love that answer. You know, always maintain humility, but know what you believe in. Don't be afraid to fight for it and respect yourself. I think that's not only great advice to like how to run a campaign, but in a way how to kind of live your life. So I think I really appreciate that, and how how relevant that is to basically everybody.